Okay, so if I am taking this loan for 2 years, it's 2 into 8%, right? Now, what if I take it for 3 years? So 3 years, basically, I have to pay 8% interest for the first year, 8% for the second year, 8% for the third year. So effectively, I need to pay 24%. Another way of looking at this is nothing but 3 times of 8%, correct? So that's exactly what we are looking at. So say, let's assume someone asks me how much interest that you will pay at the end of 3 years. So what is the interest that I'll pay at the end of 3 years? That is nothing but 3 into 18, which is 24%. So I'll calculate 24% of 12,000. How do I calculate this? Either you multiply and do it, or another way of doing it is, 12,000's 25% of 12,000 will be nothing but 3,000. It is 1/4. 3,000 minus 120. 3,000 minus how much? 1%. What is 1%? Is 1,200. 1% is 120. Sorry. So it will be 14,880. I don't know. Just interest bata. This mathematics will be 2,880, right? The interest part. Interest part is 2,880. Is everyone okay with this? Is everyone okay with this? Yeah, good. So what I'm trying to say is interest is 24%. Why is this interest 24%? Because interest for 3 years. That's what we are calculating, right? So basically, this is a very simple way of looking simple interest. As a definition, simple interest is, it's like, it's not like a compounded interest. You don't pay interest on interest. Simple interest is simple yearly interest or monthly interest or quarterly interest. They ask you, will handle that. For now, if someone asks you an annual simple interest, so simple interest for a year, if it is 8%, for 2 years, it will be 2 into 8%. If it is 3 years, it will be 3 into 8%. If it is for n years, it will be n into 8%. So basically, when you learn formula, there is a formula that you learn, will come there. Before I go there, just let me do this. Now, we understand a formula, but I don't want you to learn things as a formula. So first, it's very important for you to understand fundamentally what a simple interest means. Simple interest is nothing but a percentage of value that you are paying for a principal amount on an annual basis or a half-yearly basis or whatever it is, depending on what is asked. Okay? And in this case, you pay interest only on the principal. When you are paying interest only on the principal, that is called simple interest. Okay? So we'll come there. So what is a principal? So in this case, in the example that we took just now, the principal amount is 12,000. Right? Now, what is the interest? Now, interest is nothing but the interest that you're paying. The example that we took was 12,000 rupees. Your interest was 8%, and the number of years was 3 years, right? So interest here in this case is this 8% for 3 years is the interest that we are earning. So which is 8% for 3 years is 24%. So we calculated 24% of 12,000. So that interest that comes out is nothing but whatever we got it, 2,880. That is called the interest amount. Now, what's the amount that you pay at the end of the tenure? So let's assume your principal is 12,000. At the end of 3 years, you are paid an interest of 2,880. The amount is nothing but the principal that you are supposed to pay back plus the interest that you have to pay. So that principal plus interest is nothing but defined as amount. Yes, correct, Arjun. You're absolutely right. In this case, the principal is 12,000 plus 2,880. That's exactly what you said, which is 14,880. Correct. Absolutely right. Now coming to rate, in this case, the rate is nothing but the rate at which the annual rate of interest that we are talking about. In this case, it is 8%. So that's the rate at which you will be calculating. So the percentage for every 100, that's your rate there. So for every 100 rupees, you're paying 8% interest. So for 12,000 also, you calculate the same way. So that's a fundamental basic definition. Here is your formula for calculating simple interest. Now, simple interest is PTR by 100. That's how the formula is taught in the school. but if I want you to understand this, I want you to understand in a very simple way. Now, let's take P as principal, R as rate of interest per annum, and time is for years. Now, how do we calculate interest? Now, if I calculate interest for, say, 1 year, your interest for 1 year is R%, right? Rate of interest is R% and principal is P. So you calculate R% of, 1 second, yeah, R% of your principal, P. Now, what is R% of P? It is nothing but R by 100 times of P, R by 100 times of P. Now, it is interest for 1 year. If I were to calculate interest for 2 years, it will be R% into P, which is multiplied with 2 years, right? So this is your basic interest, and that interest multiplied with 2 will give you for 2 years. Now, interest for 3 years, if I were to calculate it, is R by 100 times of P multiplied with 3. So, but if I want to calculate simple interest for the number of years, here in this case it is T, simple interest calculated for T years will be nothing but R by 100, that is R% of your principal, R% of your principal multiplied with number of years. So that is R by 100 times of P into T. That's how this formula PTR, this is R into P into T, they call it as PTR by 100. That formula was taught. Trust me, children, most of the schools, most of the teachers even when I was taught at school, we were just taught this formula PTR by 100. We never understood what it means. We just used to solve the problems. Later in life, we actually understood what it means. But now, what I need you to understand, it's not formula. This formula comes from the basic understanding of what is simple interest. Simple interest is nothing but R% of principal. And if it is for T years, it is R% of P into multiplied with number of years, which is T. That's how your formula PTR by 100 has come. I hope everyone understands this now. Yeah, absolutely. It's basically R% of principal multiplied with number of years will give you this formula PTR by 100. Wonderful, wonderful. Thanks, Ronak. Good. So that's your formula. Simple interest is nothing but PTR by 100, and that's how you look at it. Now coming to amount. Now there's another formula which says amount. Amount is nothing but principal plus interest. Principal plus interest. That's what we learned. Amount is nothing but the amount that we pay at the end of the tenure, which is principal plus the interest that we are supposed to pay. Your principal will remain as principal P plus your interest. Interest already we have calculated, it is PTR by 100. Now, basically, you can take principal common from this. P is common. So basically, P1s are P plus TR by 100. Right? So that's how this formula is learned. But I don't want any one of you to remember this formula. There is no need of remembering this formula. Not required. Not required. Because for any problem, you can simply get to the values, apply the values, you will get an answer. So if you fundamentally know that amount is nothing but principal plus interest, you know how to, if the principal is given, if not given, you'll write it as P plus interest. You know how to calculate interest of simple interest, which is nothing but PTR by 100. That also you understand how it has come. So basically, you need not remember this second formula. Not required at all, if you fundamentally understand what we are doing.